Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Ange, MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuitive Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, and a warm welcome to the Elevate Business podcast. Both myself, Ange MacCabe, and Scott Russ are your hosts. We have the pleasure of introducing you to Dr. Alina Turner, who is the co-founder and co-president of HelpSeeker Technologies, a social technology and innovation Alberta-based B-Corp founded in 2018. She has a background as a social scientist with a specialization in systems planning and integration, and as a funder and social policy expert. Alina's drive and passion for her work are grounded in her lived experience of the social issues she continues to challenge in her professional work. Her most recent interest is in putting new technologies to use in reforming the design and delivery of social safety nets. Hi, Alina. We're so excited to have you here on the Elevate Business podcast. How are you making out today?
Oh, pretty good, minus the wind chill out in Alberta these days, but you too.
Our pleasure. We're excited to learn more about you, your company, and more importantly, your leadership journey there.
Well, I will do my best.
No pressure.
Yeah, and no promises at all. I'll do my best is all I can say.
That's awesome. So would you like to tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and the organization you work for, a little bit more about your role?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of the two co-founders of HelpSeeker, and I continue to run it. I serve as the wannabe CEO, and my co-founder acts as the very, very good at it COO. So we've got a really nice mix. But to tell you more about HelpSeeker as a company, we're a B Corp, so social enterprise that on complex social challenges and solving them through technology, social innovation. Sometimes we use really not that exciting stuff, but the whole point is that we bring new ideas to old or seemingly intractable and wicked problems from a systems perspective. So for sure, we've got the technology angle in there because there is such a gap in the social world on leveraging new digital solutions to solve some of these challenges. But that's not all. So sometimes we apply indigenous ways of knowing as well, which are rooted in thousands and thousands of years of history. And so the way we interpret technologies is much, much broader than folks from more typical technology companies would think of. It's definitely using knowledge to solve problems is how we think about technology.
That's fantastic. And how did you come about this?
Come from the social sector myself. So I've been in the system as somebody with lived experience with the child intervention system, the homeless system, refugee and immigration, and somebody that's always been, thinking that we could do better. And, I'm not one to just kind of look at it. I want to get in there and try to muck around and see if we can do better. So I've always had this kind of creative bone in trying to solve it. It's almost a type of artistry if you want to think about it. And that's me though. I am definitely that kind of, everybody's like, oh, you're the creative visionary type. And Travis is the getting shit done type.
We have synergy.
In terms of my leadership style, that also applies because I'm like, here's the solution. Go do it. It's so simple. So simple. And so how did I come about it? It's one of those great ideas that I was like, well, this is, all you need to do is just apply technology to this problem, this problem, this problem. It's like, boom, bam, done. Somebody give me an app.
Well, I mean, it seems like it's worked out pretty well for you so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, only because it's a team sport, right? It's only because I have a co-founder that can actually make these crazy ideas viable ideas and takes them into the real world, and makes them a sustainable business as well, because you can't. And, he's always saying, like, you stop telling people you're going to do everything for free. How are we going to pay our staff? Really basic things, and, I'm just super lucky because I have somebody that's like my partner that can do that for me, and makes me, or gives me the luxury of doing what I do really, really well. That motivation, that big thinking, that creativity. I have a solid foundation to stand on and kind of come home to. And he's also my husband. So that's like the
win-win.
I know. So it's a really sweet combo. We actually met in high school, and so we've been on this journey the whole time. So my leadership journey, his leadership journey, it's all so entwined with who we are, and we grew up together, right? Like we've known each other since we were 15. So he's been through this whole thing and has seen the dysfunction that we're trying to fix in his own right as somebody in the education system. So we've got this grounding together that's allowing us to be able to do this successfully. Sometimes it doesn't feel very successful, but that's okay, right? That's it's not an easy space to work in, especially when you're constantly struggling with is this social, is this organizational health, is this where does this mix of socialism and capitalism fit
right
with who we are as people as well, and who we're trying to get HelpSeeker to be as a company. It's a different kind of company, and it's doing something that there hasn't been this quick and easy, like just take that playbook and just plug it in. It's just e-commerce. It's not like that at all, and that's the best part about it. That's really hard sometimes, because it's not that easy. And then you have to explain things that you're, to be fair, making up most of the time. And you're like, oh, I got this.
And then
sorry, go ahead.
And then I resonate with you, because what you're describing is Scott and I precisely. I'm totally the outgoing kind of visionary, and I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we can't do this? Like, why can't we do 2.5 million this year? And Scott's like, Angela, there's 2 of us right now. Like, we need to scale first. So everything that you're saying right now is resonating, and also telling me it's doable. It's really about the offsets and looking at things and coming back. What I'm hearing, I think, between this, Alina, is coming back to your North Star. So how it bumps up against your ethics, and what is the passion, and what's really driving you to do this thing that you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's this North Star piece. And it's funny you say that, because it's called HelpSeeker for a reason, the seeker, the concept of seeking. And there's a couple of products that we have that are very much kind of thematized off of this concept of navigation. So we literally have an app that's called the Nav app, the navigation app. And that's a solution that we created. One of actually the first product we ever put in front of the world. And it was an app to help people navigate through the maze of social supports in Canada. There's 300,000 social resources and programs and services and helplines and benefits and stuff. 300,000, like, how can anybody navigate that?
Yeah, it's overwhelming hearing that number.
I know.
To be totally honest.
Yeah. Tell me about it. And they all have different rules. Like this one, you can only have if you got this eligibility criteria. And if you have to be homeless for like 3 months in this city, but 12 months in this city to get the same thing. It's a hot mess. So the Nav app is kind of this wayfinding through this through this really, really complex system. We've also got this other activity that we do that's called systems mapping. So again, the concept of navigation.
Right.
How do we analyze the social challenge? How do we figure out the leverage points on that map to say, if we press on this, it's going to have this ripple effect in this part of the map, and therefore it's going to get us to that ultimate destination, that systems change or systems transformation that we're wanting to see in a community or in a system.
And so we've talked a little bit about the impact that you're having. I'd be curious, just shifting gears a little bit and looking a little bit more internally with your team. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what your vision is for your team for 2022 and how are you looking to support them?
Yeah, that's a really cool question because we're in the middle of our strategic planning process. So
nice.
We've got a team conference. Our team conference is starting tomorrow. It's for 2 days. Our big dream was that we were all going to be together, and some of us for the first time because we hired so many folks during COVID, and so we were come together. So we've got that added dimension to this, which everybody does. Don't get me wrong, but we also hired 40 people last year that
oh my goodness,
we've never met in person. But hey, let's change the world. We got this.
You can do visionary stuff over Zoom, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. You can do this. Well, you have to figure it out. You have to.
So I'm imagining Alina said, Greg, I want 40 staff. And then Greg found 40 staff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're at 65 folks right now. So, we started 3 years ago. So it's a really, really rapid growth, which comes with some very big problems. Keep in mind all the stuff I said about how we're making up most of the things that we're doing, and there's no playbook. So while you're inventing the plane that you're flying, you're also throwing passengers into the plane.
Yep.
And there's there's a cockpit, but there's no buttons in there. There's no manual on how to fly the plane. Point being is the processes, the infrastructure of a 65 person company, we're still developing. And so I can tell you how I want the work space, and I say space loosely because we're a hybrid. The network is truly where I'm wanting the company to go. So I wanted to have strong nodes, strong relationship, strong trust, and reliance on each other. I would love for folks to be self-organizing and know their roles and their work so well, and trust each other so much that the concept of hierarchy is loosely defined.
Right.
So I'm wanting the organization to work more as a matrix, a network matrix, if you will. Probably familiar with that. And the reason also for that is because I want us to be the change we want to see in the world. So if we're wanting these communities and these systems to act more like person-centered, equitable networks that are also self-reliant, self-organizing, responsive, and agile, then I better not be doing the exact opposite.
Right.
Home, right? In our home base.
Yeah.
So there's that connection. The core values, I was really cool with them. And that was our North Star. We even used the North Star kind of analogy when we developed them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But now I'm I hate them. They're great. Don't get me wrong. Let me tell you what they are. So one is this kind of this growth minded and yet sustainable. So this whole concept of being a social enterprise is there. That's one. The other one, and now I can't even remember them all, but the other ones are the ones that are actually really, really useful. And it's the first one. And I have an acronym for it that one of our VPs hates it, but it's a RIDE. So it's reconciliation, inclusion, diversity, equity, and sovereignty. And she's always saying okay, you can't just throw reconciliation in there. You can't just throw, inclusion like it's too catchy, it's too kitschy. And I kind of, I'm hearing her more and more, because you're not doing justice to any one of those things when you jam them together. And then you're like putting these really big kind of values on top of like, sustainable prosperity, which is kind of more like an operational kind of aspiration. So I'm putting that on the agenda for this year. Is like, we've also, again, added 40 more folks. 2 years ago, those values we all created them together. And we like, yeah, this is cool. This is good. This is good grounding. And now we're like, this isn't feeling right anymore. We need to revamp. We need to renew. We need to maybe toss some out and bring some new ones in. That concept of North Star recalibration is we're doing that. Like that's part of the 2022 goal. That also is a really cool process, I think, to bring the values and the buy-in on the values for the 40 new people that were never there 2 years ago to even have had a say in these. So I think that North Star piece is critical, and that's kind of where you almost need to start. So that's part of the work in 22. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's so much there, and reading between your lines, essentially what you're speaking to is project teams. So having inclusiveness and not having a hierarchical design when it comes to looking at your organization. It's very much inclusive and collaborative is what I'm hearing, with clear lines. Right. So understanding that, typically speaking, these are the tasks that I do, but the people that I work with may shift depending on the type of project that we're working on potentially, I think is what I was hearing. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, not my idea, because again, my idea is something crazy like network science. Everything's about network effects. I'm like, you guys, I figured it out. This is what we're doing. Networks.
Mic drop.
Walk away. I'm like, it's all right there. Like, read this. Watch this video. It's all there. I'm like, solved it. Everybody's like, what? How is that relevant to anything at all? So I have this amazing, amazing, brilliant colleague. Her name is Jessie, and she's our EVP that leads the systems change work, and innovation work that is more to do with the communities or the systems that we're transforming. And she's so brilliant, because she can take that and she can actually make it into an organizational kind of mandate and restructure teams, so that that's exactly what you're saying. Like, where are the clear lines of responsibility for this work? How are we going to be reporting to each other? How are we going to stay accountable to each other? What does quality look like when you're self-organizing and you don't have somebody that's like over your shoulder telling you, do this? How do you empower teams to be creative when many of us have come from bureaucracies? That's the thing. People in the social sector is we've all been beat up. We've gotten our creativity beaten out of us by system dysfunction for so much of our career. Right. And then folks come here and it's like, am I allowed to say anything in this meeting? Or let's just add another social worker to this program. It's like, no, this is the one place where it's okay to just throw all that stuff out. Like, you know your core values, you know that experience, you know these systems. How do you bring that knowledge, but bring your creative best self to solve this problem? And that is like a hard mental leap that I've seen people struggle with that. And I'm looking to, how do I foster a company that people feel safe to be themselves? Not to take stupid risks. Like, I'm not saying like, let's throw let's not have processes and quality assurance and, safety guidelines and all these,
of course,
101s, but there's so much between that and doing the same old that there's a big gap there that means that there's opportunity for cool stuff. And I think people are going to be way more satisfied and feel like they're making that impact, which is why they're here to begin with. So my question is always like, how do I unleash them? Because I feel like I'm unleashed, right? And it comes so easily to me, but it didn't to begin with. So I went through a process. So how do I teach and empower for them to have that same kind of, I don't know, whatever, flowering,
growth.
Yeah, like that, while still getting shit done, right? Because it's not fairy. And this is where the Travis and Alina combo is amazing, because we got this like, okay, Alina, you can muse. He's always calling it, no more musings, get to work. So there's always that tension, but that's also where the creative and synthesis of the kinds of skills that we have on the team is, because you have these creative types, and then you can have these, and I don't mean creative types like drawing things, like mental creativity, creativity, thinking differently. And then you've got the doers that can take that and like distill it and then make it real. So I think that combo of skill sets and mindsets is going to be what makes this work. Now it's figuring out who's who and what that process looks like. Is 2022.
I love your vulnerability throughout this conversation, because oftentimes, as CEOs, we want to be able to say that we have the answers. And what I'm hearing from you is that we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the fixtures to the plane as of yet, but we do have an innovative and collaborative team that I want them to feel the same way that I do. It's a safe space. She can be unleashed. And that absolutely gives me goosebumps.
I always say, and Jessie, she just said it yesterday in a conversation where the team was kind of kept coming back to her and being like, what about this? What about this? She's like, I don't know either. Why are you asking me? Like, you have, and literally her words were, you have the same information I have.
Right.
You do it. And it's this whole, like, how do you empower? Yeah. And that it's empower such a, I don't know, it's almost like a passive thing, because it's like, well, I'm empowering you to do this. But if they keep coming back because they're not, they don't know how to, then you didn't empower them.
That's not really empowering.
They don't know what to do. That's not empowering. That's like setting them up for failure and disappointing you. So, and that was my convo with Jessie yesterday too. I was like, I think we're not doing a good job on teaching. I'm like, I think we got to think about our roles differently. Like we're, and I always say, like, we're like only one day ahead of our teams, but that day needs to become a year ahead, and so that we can work backwards and have a systematic way of doing the empowerment and like a empowerment program or something. And maybe that's what they call it, this kind of development, staff development and growth development. Like, again, there's no seatbelts in the airplane. There's no seats. So I mean, companies, and I look at this, and I was chatting with a girlfriend at New Year's about her role, and her role is really cool. She does the change management in a big company. And she has a team of people whose job it is to do the growth plans and find those shining stars, and then like maneuver them to get them like the learning opportunities to grow. And she has a big budget that she can bring in consultants to do this and this and this. And I'm like, oh, that's like your job. That's like a department. Oh, no wonder we're not doing a good job. Like outside of our desk. I'm like, yeah, that would be so good. I'm like, and I always say to Travis, I'm like, I want one of those. Like, yeah, well, you're going to need to like, bring in more money and we can have one of those too. And I'm like, okay, I can do that.
That's fantastic, Alina. And I really appreciate, again, voicing what Ange had said, that the vulnerability around where you guys are at and the growth you guys are experiencing, both the positives and also some of the obstacles that are kind of coming up. And I can imagine we can continue this conversation. But I guess shifting gears or bringing things to a close here, we always like to ask our podcast guests, what are 3 words of inspiration that you would want the world to hear?
That's the worst question of this podcast.
for a visionary, it's very kind of loose.
If you not noticed, I have 0 filter and cannot distill things to words.
Could we negotiate maybe 3 sentences? No, I'm just joking.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it. How about I don't know? Those are my 3 words.
I don't know. I like that. That's great.
It's probably a really, really great question for people that have their shit together.
But I feel like your answer is so real. It's just like, hey, I don't know. You mentioned earlier, we're just a day ahead. And the fact is that we don't know. So no, I think it actually resonates quite significantly.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And edging you on here, like throughout the podcast, there's been a lot of visionary and thought-provoking things that we've talked about. It's, so how do we allow people to be unleashed? Mm-hmm. And what is it that we systematically need to do to keep that consistency in place? And how do we show up as our whole person self? And what I mean by that is just everything that you're saying. We're people and we're going to do this thing that we're passionate about. How can we have safe conversations and everybody know that it's safe and that we don't have all the answers, but guess what? We're working on it. Our plan is to work ahead.
That's it. Well summarized. Now I just need somebody to make that real. So I'll get Travis and Jesse to listen to this and they'll set me straight. Definitely.
Thank you so much, Alina, for joining us today. We really appreciate you sharing your entrepreneurial insights with Intuitive Performers and our subscribers.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun for me.
Great. And for those who would like to learn more about HelpSeeker Technologies, we're going to provide a link to the company's profile on the Elevate Business Podcast title page. Take good care. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuitive Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious.